Good afternoon, everyone. Today, we will be discussing Chapter 8, which is involving the guest to co creation of value. First, what do we mean by co creation? So, co creation is a form of a creative contribution and it allows a better active involvement of the guest. So, guests co create value. So we all know that our customers or guest is always a co-creator of value. So it means that their involvement is a big help in creating the value and quality of the guest experience. So in the traditional firm-centric view of organizations, management decides what the guest want and designs a delivery system to provide it. And it says that the consumer is not part of the value creation process. While in guest-centric view, the guestologist seeks to identify what the customers want and involves them in the co-creation. So, the guest plays a key role in it. So, if guests are involved in the design of the experience through focus groups or by providing feedback on their experiences, they have the opportunity to create the experience before it happens. Like, for example, by using an online suggestion box or any online platform that can give guests the opportunity to submit ideas or to vote on other guest ideas. Another example is conducting a survey to get input from guests, which is then reviewed and used by the organization. So, guests can co create value just by using some social networking sites, which is a big help to hospitality organization to find out if their guest is satisfied or not. So, their involvement leads to their co creating the value and quality of that experience. Also, by the use of social networking sites, guests can also co create knowledge. It is by posting their experiences that the organization can use to create a variety of strategies to engage the guests in the co production of the experience so that they co create quality and value. But the point here is the guests expect to co produce the experience and co create its value and quality in some way. So, hospitality organization must need to find a way to fulfill that expectation. The guest can help. In the traditional manufacturing organization, the people involved in the core production tasks are insulated from external interruptions by layers of strategic planners and middle managers. So the people providing many hospitality services, in contrast, are right out in the open where the guests can see and even interact with them. But today, in many circumstances, the guests will take the primary role in co-producing the service themselves. Like for example, an a hotel automated service. So today, the hotel industry is adopting self-service technology, including the check-in and check-out kiosk, where guest arrivals can make more pleasant and less hassle. So another is the self-ordering technology in restaurants, which is now a trend. So with this kind of technology, a guest can help to co-produce the service themselves. But a crucial implication for the hospitality organizations when they involve guests in co-producing the experience, either as observer or as participants, Hospitality organizations must remain constantly aware that a server or web is likely to be the point of contact between organization and guest instead of relying on highly paid, experienced, and loyal executives or well trained sales representatives. So the organization must rely on its frontline servers or a web page to represent the company. Guests as quasi-employees. Hospitality organizations know they must help manage the confusion, stress, and uncertainty guests can create for their employees while on their jobs. So, an effective way for that to manage that confusion is to think of guests as quasi-employees and manage them accordingly. So, as I said earlier, a guest can help, and because of that, they can also act as quasi-employees. So, what do we mean by quasi? So, quasi means seemingly, apparently, but not really, or in short, you may treat your guests as part of your employees. So, these unpaid employees must have knowledge, skills, and abilities. It is to successfully co-produce the service experience. This means organizations need to design a service product, an environment, and a delivery system that match the KSAs or yung knowledge, skills, and abilities of the customers that bring the experience. It may also mean that companies need to train the customers on how to take advantage of the service product. Like nowadays, the hospitality industry are increasingly encouraging guests to act as quasi-employees. It is by inviting or requiring them to adopt a range of technology-enabled services or self-service technologies. So how can we manage these quasi-employees? So Benjamin Schneider and David Bowen recommended a three-step strategy for managing these quasi-employees. So it so first, define roles. So carefully and completely define the roles you want guests to play. It includes defining the knowledge, skills, and abilities required to perform the jobs, identified as desirable and appropriate for guests. Number two, set clear expectations. So make sure that guests know exactly what you expect them to do and that they are physically able, mentally prepared, and sufficiently skilled to those tasks. Show guests that performing the task is to their benefit and give them a reason to do the task well. Number 3, evaluate guest ability and willingness to perform well. So once the task performance is done, evaluate the guest ability and willingness to perform well. In effect, conduct a performance appraisal on the guest to ensure that the experience being co-produced is meeting guest expectations. The organization decides. Some hospitality organizations do not offer the guest any choice. So organization decides whether to let guests co-produce their own experience or not because organization need to identify which situation and when is the time they need guest participation. It is because it is not always make sense to involve the guest. Like for example, in the fast food service setting, the customer must participate somewhat but cannot be allowed to take over completely because the efficiency of the Quick serves process is based on a carefully engineered food production system that ensures a consistent quality, consistent quality and safe food product. So if we allow customers to cook or prepare their own food, it may interfere with production efficiency while creating substantial food safety and sanitation problems. So organizations need to think when to let guests co-produce their own experience and how much of it.